For lesson 2, we'll be talking about multiplying decimals. And remember, our main rule of multiplication was that you can multiply anything by anything. That means we don't have to make any changes at all. We can just multiply. So it's exactly the same as whole numbers. Same thing for multiplying decimals. There's just one extra step at the end. So multiply them as usual, ignoring the decimal point. We'll take a look at that decimal point at the end, once we've found the product, okay? So the number of digits behind the decimal point in any of the numbers that are being multiplied should be the same number as in the product or your answer. What do I mean by that? Well, if our math problem is 217.9 times 11, there is one single digit behind the decimal point in that first number being multiplied. The 11 has nothing behind the decimal point. So there is one single decimal digit here. In number 2, we have the 2 in the tenths place, and then we have the 3 in the tenths place, and the 4 in the hundredths place. So there are 3 digits behind the decimal point if you add them all up. So in your answer there, you would have 3 digits after the decimal point. Okay, let's try some actual multiplication now. 328.1 times 6. Remember, we just line them up at the edge. We don't care about that decimal point until the end. 1 times 6 is 6. 6 times 8 is 48, so 8 carry the 4. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 4 would be 16, carry the 1. 6 times 3 is 18. Add the 1, 19. Now, double check how many decimal digits do we need. Just the single one here. So in our answer, we'll just have one single decimal digit behind the decimal point. Okay, number 6, 102.5 times 0.4. Same thing, 4 times 5 is 20. Carry the 2. 4 times 2 is 8, plus the 2 is 10. 4 times 0 is 0, plus the 1 is just 1. And then 4 times 1 is 4. Now, in our two numbers being multiplied, we have the 5 in the tenths place and the 4 in the tenths place. There are 2 decimal digits behind the decimal point. So in our answer here, we're going to go 1, 2. And we're going to put our decimal there. So we got 41.00, which is technically just 41. In math, it doesn't really matter if those extra zeros are there. In science, it can be important. Okay? All right, last one here. 10.01 times 9.2. So remember, when we line this up, we're just lining it up at that right side. We don't care that the decimal isn't lined up. It doesn't matter here. You can multiply anything by anything. You don't have to change it. So 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 again is 0. And then 2 times 1 again is 2. Now we're moving in a place value, so add in your 0. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 0 is 0 again. And then 9 times 1 is 9. Add them up. 2, 9, 0, 2, 9. Check in your factors, your numbers being multiplied. There's 1, 2, and then 1 digit here behind the decimal. So a total of 3 digits behind the decimal. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So our answer is 92.092. Last up is our example of a word problem. Okay. So Mariana bought 4.25 yards of fabric for a quilt. It cost $1.20 per yard. How much did she spend in all? So I'm going to circle the numbers and then look for some labels. So it's 4.25 or 4 25 yards, and then $1.20 per yard, that's the cost. Okay, so we know how much she bought, and we know how much it cost per yard. What we want to find out is how much she spent in all. Okay, so she bought 4.25 yards. Cost is $120 per yard. Okay, that means each yard, one single yard, is $1.20. But how many yards do we need? We need 4 25/100 yards. So when it says how much did she spend in all, we need to know total amount bought. Okay, now total sometimes can mean to add, but in this case, since the amount that we need is not a whole number, there's no way for us to just add $1.20 up 4.25 times. That would be confusing. So if we want to add something up 4.25 times, that means we can just multiply. So we'll do 4.25 times 1.20. There we go. 5 and 0 is 0. 0 and 2 is 0. 0 and 4 is 0. We're moving in a place value, so put in your 0 for a placeholder. 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 2 times 4 is 8. And now we're moving into the third digit, so 2 placeholder zeros. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 4 is 4. Add this all up. 0, 0, 10, carry the 1. 10, 11, carry the 1. 5. Last step, check how many decimal digits we need. So in our numbers here, we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 in each one, 2 digits behind the decimal point. So for a total of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So our answer is this big crazy long thing, 5.1000. We don't need those zeros. They're not important. So when we write our final answer, we can say she spent $5.10. When you do money, it only gets 2 decimal digits. Okay? Last up, we'll be looking at our reflection question. How does the main rule of multiplication apply to multiplying decimals?